The 2018 hit Incredibles 2 was the perfect sequel for our favorite superhero family, but Disney and Pixar snuck in some moments that were definitely not meant for kids.
So you guys are close, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
We can get closer.
Check out these 10 Incredibles 2 moments that only adults understand. New math. Every parent has likely felt like Bob did when he tried to help Dash with his homework. That's nothing new. Kids have been asking their parents for help with their homework for decades, and sometimes it's just been too long since a parent was in school for them to remember. But Dash's math homework is actually a joke about something else entirely. His textbook says new math, and Bob is so frustrated because it's not the math he learned. He wonders why math needs to be new and what's wrong with the old way. This is a joke about Common Core math. A few years ago, almost every state in the U.S. adopted the Common Core. It's a set of standards for learning. It was supposed to help make sure that kids all over the United States are learning the same things, but for some reason, Common Core decided to change the way math was taught. There are all sorts of new methods for basic math concepts, but for a lot of adults, Common Core math makes no sense.
It's not my fault they changed math.
Plenty of people think it's actually harder than the old way. Common Core gets a lot of criticism for being too hard without a good reason, but lots of teachers say it's easier to get kids to understand. Incredibles 2 was definitely making fun of Common Core. Shakespeare. This next joke may not have made every adult laugh, but we bet lots of teachers chuckled at Violet's joke. At the beginning of the movie, Violet was really upset about having to watch Jack Jack. Her whole family is fighting the Underminer, and she wants to help. She is standing in the parking lot outside the track meet. Tony, who is supposed to take Violet to the movies on Friday, sees her. Her voice sounds familiar. Well, duh. They had just had a conversation. But then Violet throws off her superhero mask in frustration. Remember, in the world of The Incredibles, these tiny black masks hide their true identity. Tony realizes it's Violet. When Violet tries to make it right at school, she tells him that she was in a play. She says it's Shakespeare, but they are trying to make it relevant to the kids. Teachers everywhere struggle with trying to make really old literature interesting to modern kids. And Shakespeare with superheroes does sound ridiculous. Monkey throwing darts. After the Incredible family defeats the Underminer, things go really wrong. All the media shows is that the supers caused a lot of destruction. Rick Dicker drops the family back off at their motel. He tells them that the government is shutting down the program. He is talking about the government program that keeps supers hidden. It is now illegal to be a super, but they don't get any help keeping their identity a secret. The supers want the law to change, but in the US, laws are changed by Congress. There is a line in the movie that says,
"People have more trust in a monkey throwing darts than Congress."
We don't know about you, but we certainly wouldn't trust a monkey with darts. This joke was meant for the adults in the audience. It seems like no matter what is going on, adults love to complain about Congress or whatever government is in their country. It doesn't matter which political party is in charge. Everyone has their own opinion when it comes to politics, so the topic can be a little heavy. Doesn't this sound like something an adult would say at Christmas dinner? Adolescence. Poor Violet. Being a teenager is hard enough, but when you have secret powers that are illegal, it's even harder. Violet spends the whole first movie with a crush on Tony. At the end of the movie, he asks her out, but then he witnesses her in her super form. Rick Dicker has to erase his memory, and he accidentally erases all memory of Violet. Violet is obviously really upset. She finally got her crush to ask her out, and now he has no clue who she is. She blames her dad because he told Mr. Dicker. She acts out a lot because she's so upset. She cries, she pouts, and she has angry outbursts. At one point, Dash asks,
Is she having adolescence?
We just know all the adults were laughing at this line. Adolescence, or puberty, is when all your body's hormones are going crazy. Adolescents have wild mood swings, and they just can't help it. It's biology, but it is not the easiest time to be a parent. We could totally feel for Bob in that scene, and he tried to make it right. But if you ask us, Violet had a pretty good reason to be upset. She just might have been a little calmer if she wasn't in puberty. United League of Nations. Unless you've been paying really close attention in history class, this joke probably went right over your head. In Incredibles 2, Elastigirl meets Ambassador Henrietta Selick. She represents the ULN, and she is pro-superhero. She wants to legalize them across the world again.
Good luck with your speech.
This way, Ambassador.
Bring
Lasting peace!
I will when you defeat evil.
Okay.
When the ambassador's plane is hijacked by Screenslaver, Elastigirl saves her. The ambassador becomes even more outspoken about restoring rights to supers. So what is the ULN? This is the United League of Nations. The ULN is not a thing in the real world, but it's a total history joke. In real life, we have the United Nations. It's an organization that was founded after World War II. Ambassadors from different countries work together for peace, but before the United Nations, there was another organization. It was called the League of Nations. It was formed after World War I, and it failed miserably. Some history buff picked the name of the United League of Nations for this movie. It's not a joke everyone would get, but if your parents loved history, they probably thought it was really clever. We love that Incredibles 2 wasn't just goofy. It has a lot of smart jokes too. Adult beverages. While Elastigirl is away from home, she befriends Evelyn Dever. Unfortunately, Evelyn is the Screenslaver. Seriously, how did they not know this? Her name literally sounds like Evil Endeavor. Anyway, Evelyn and Helen are sitting together one evening. Their voices are slurred like they are under the influence of something. They are both holding small glasses of dark liquid, and we can guarantee you that it isn't Coke. These two ladies are drinking adult beverages together. We get it. Sometimes adults do that, but was it really necessary to include in a kids movie? Surely they could have had the same bonding experience over a nice glass of juice. Evelyn also really likes to celebrate with adult drinks. Later in the film, she asks Elastigirl if she drinks on the clock. Elastigirl assures her that she is definitely not on the clock. Why couldn't they have had a slice of cake or something instead? They definitely had way too much to drink. Their speech wasn't clear, and they were acting kind of goofy. This does not show responsible drinking. Wow, Pixar, that just doesn't seem like the best message to send, but we bet most kids didn't notice. Do you think that's inappropriate? Keep watching to find out the most inappropriate joke in the movie. Johnny Quest. Your parents might not have caught this next reference, but we bet the grandparents in the audience did. Dash is seen watching TV several times. We usually don't really know what he's watching, but at one point we can see the whole screen. There is some old school animation on the screen, but this isn't just a made-up cartoon. This is footage from an actual cartoon called Johnny Quest. Johnny Quest was about a 10-year-old son of a government scientist. Their family went on crazy adventures. It sounds awesome. Why haven't you ever heard of this show? Well, it only aired for 26 episodes, and it was on in the 1960s. Wow, that is basically forever ago. That is proof that the Incredibles franchise takes place in the 1960s. It's a little hard to tell because of the fictional technology, but there are a lot of things straight out of the 60s in the movie. Ask your grandparents if they remember the show Johnny Quest. We love that a modern animated movie has such a cool throwback to old animation. And of course, Dash would love an exciting television show like that. He's a super forced to be normal after all. Reflux. Winston Dever introduces Elastigirl to a bunch of other supers. Like the Parr family, they have been forced into hiding. Some haven't even gotten a chance to really be a hero because of the law. They all really admire Elastigirl. One of the supers she meets is an old man. He's short and kind of looks like a frog, and his name is Reflux. They don't show his power until later in the movie, but adults can figure it out pretty quickly. When you're an adult, sometimes your body doesn't work like it used to. One thing that happens is heartburn. If you eat too much spicy food, your chest literally feels like it's on fire. This is because of your stomach acid. When the acid goes up your esophagus, it's called reflux. The super's power is basically throwing up acid. Ew! Reflux tells Elastigirl that it's either a medical condition or a superpower. We're pretty sure that it's usually a medical condition. That was so funny. It was hilarious seeing a little old man be a super. And since reflux is more common in older people, it was a perfect power. But it was still really gross. Does his power only work if he eats spicy food? Money talks. Many of the jokes in Incredibles 2 are really subtle, but there are a ton of political messages throughout the movie.
For over 15 years, superheroes have been in hiding, forced into it by a society no longer willing to support them.
And if you're an adult, some of them were really obvious. There were lots of comments about illegals still being good members of society. There are jabs at the system being unfair. There was commentary about the roles that moms and dads play. But one of the most obvious statements was said by Violet. At the end of the movie, Elastigirl figures out that the Screenslaver is Evelyn. The Screenslaver hypnotizes Elastigirl, Mr. Incredible, and Frozone. It's up to Violet, Dash, and Jack-Jack to save the day. And they do! Then there is an awesome superhero scene. Elastigirl fights Evelyn, and the others stop the ship from crashing into the city. Evelyn finally gets caught. Her brother Winston is shocked and disgusted, but he's still glad she's alive. Evelyn gets arrested and is going to jail. Violet yells out that Evelyn is rich, so she probably won't get more than a slap slap on the wrist. Wow, it's sad, but a lot of times rich people don't get in as much trouble when they break the law. The writers were definitely making a really obvious statement about the justice system. Violet's wet issue. Incredibles 2 has a lot less inappropriate jokes about bedroom humor, if you know what we mean. In fact, most of the adult humor was really tamed, even though it got political. But there was one line that made lots of people uncomfortable. Bob tries really hard to make things right with Violet and Tony. He feels bad for Tony's memory getting erased. He finds out where Tony works and takes the family there for dinner. When Tony comes up to the table to take their order, Violet chokes on her water. It goes everywhere. The poor girl is soaking wet. How embarrassing. Bob keeps trying to introduce Violet to Tony, and then he says that she doesn't normally drip like this. Whoa, too far. Lots of people did not think that joke was about water. It's about something way more inappropriate. And for Violet's dad to say it makes it way worse. If it was an accident, how did that line make it through editing? But if it wasn't, what was Pixar thinking? Adults everywhere were made really uncomfortable by that line. It was just too much. What do you think was the funniest moment in Incredibles 2? Let us know in the comment section. For more super videos, click that big red subscribe button. Thanks for watching and see you next time on The Things.